It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Yes, it is the 5th. Yes, it's a Tuesday. Yes, it's Election Day. Here we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Squid-flavored donuts.
Yum.
Bringing the flavor of the ocean to your breakfast pastry.
And don't forget, in Cheyenne, Wyoming, they have a sushi donut shop, which I talked about last week. Yes, that is a real thing.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
All right, so as Election Day gets underway, I've already been asked by a couple of people, so where do I go to vote? Okay, I do that early, but some of you do actually vote on Election Day. That's fine. Polls officially open in Wyoming at 7 o'clock. So 7 a.m. You got a little bit of time to get there. And it just depends on where you are. The big towns, of course, have their precincts. Those of you who are way out in the middle of nowhere, you usually have some either church or school or something, community center that you go to. Those places are pretty easy to find. But, okay, here's what I found. I went to, and you can do this too, Wyoming Secretary of State's office. There's a frequently asked questions page. So it says, in even number years, the primary election is held on the first Tuesday of the month in August. That's the primary. The general election is to be held on Tuesday following the first Monday in November. Polls are open from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. or until the last person in line has voted. So if it's 7 p.m. and we're waiting for all the votes to be counted, it's because Steve is still taking his time back there, and he needs to get a move on. All right, so where do you vote? If you, again, go to the Wyoming Secretary of State's page and just enter your address. And there's a polling place locator, and it tells you. Or contact your county clerk. What county are you in? Type in your county clerk, and there they'll tell you right there. Here's where you go to vote, depending on what your address is. Okay. What do you need to vote? Well, all right. We have ID in Wyoming. Driver's license or ID card. Tribal ID, U.S. passport, military card. Driver's license or ID card from another state, but you should be a Wyoming resident by now. University of Wyoming student ID, and it goes on and on. Like that whole list of things here. Let's see. Does my boss give me time off to vote? Yeah. According to Wyoming law, your boss gives you like an hour. Like you're going to lunch. You got an hour to get out there and vote and come back. And you may vote a provisional ballot in order to for the vote to be counted. You must provide proof of eligibility to vote to your county clerk. And then there's other information there as well. So, okay, it also talks about military citizen absentee. But this is Election Day. So there's some basic things for you that in case you had any questions, you'll find it on the Wyoming Secretary of State site, or your county clerk site has all of that information. And again, polls in Wyoming open at 7 o'clock. That's when you go to vote. What's fun is because we live in Wyoming, we count up our votes fast. It's such a small state population. So this is a story I told. Our Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, called yesterday, in case you missed it, and said that over 40% of Wyoming had already voted early, which is a huge number. Well, I told him this story. I had a next-door neighbor. A guy lived behind me. And I believe he wanted to run for Senate, but he'd never run for anything ever before. And he really didn't know how to do this. But he was really convinced he had this. He was going to win. So in the primary election, Now, his property, the house that he had, doesn't have much of a yard. So the driveway, it's a short driveway, goes right to the road. So that's where he sets up a table and a grill and invites over some supporters, and they're going to have a watch party for the primary. And this is supposed to be a big victory party. And he's got burgers out there ready to go. I mean, he's got the grill and the burgers and the tables, and here comes some supporters. And I told him flat out, you know, you've never run for anything, and you're going for like Senate, I think it was, first time. So your odds are not really good here in the primary. Just so you know, I'm not trying to discourage you, I told him, but your odds are. So the polls closed, and when the polls closed, that's when he put the burgers on the grill. Before the burgers were done, he was out of the race. That's how fast we counted it here in the state of Wyoming. Now, other states, it's going to be a problem. I've already read several stories this morning where some states are worried that they're not even going to get the counting done this week. We'll see. I remember a time, I know many of you do, that when the polls closed on Tuesday, by late Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, we know who the winners. We would know. But today, it's more of a mess than that. But thank you, bureaucracy, big government, and those people who try to rig and defraud elections. Thank you for that. Morning, Chet. Chet says, morning, Glenn. If I make it through the day, I'd like my straight. Oh, you want that one? Hang on. I know exactly what you're talking about. Can I find that one real quick here? Yeah, because this is going to be one of those days. I might not be able to find it fast enough for you then. I know exactly the one he's talking about. Here we go. Chet, this is just for you.
If I manage to make it through this week, I would like my straitjacket to be black leather and my helmet to sparkle. Thank you.
Now, since I mentioned they keep the polls open in Wyoming until 7 o'clock or until the last person votes, and I said if we're still waiting past 7 o'clock, it's Steve. Steve in Casper sent me a note just now. I won't be holding up the line. I'm heading there right now. Thank you, Steve, because we don't want to stay late for you. Okay, so, yeah, it's going to be a busy day. And just so you know, before I even got on the air here, and this is not a surprise, I'm sort of scanning what the different news stations are doing. Well, I'm sorry, I can't call them news stations anymore. Different former television news stations are doing. And already they have all of their pundits out and their roundtable discussions going, and they're showing poll numbers and play-by-play. And the polls, when they started doing this, the polls hadn't even opened yet. And they're doing this. Come on, guys. Give us a bit of a break here. But, I know some people like the play-by-play. But for me, I look at it and go, can we just not for a while here? Just let people go vote. Now, again, I know a lot of you, I get it. Well, actually, I don't get it. But, all right, a lot of you like to stay up during the course of the night and watch as the numbers come in and watch the play-by-play and listen to all of the pundits and all this kind of stuff. I don't. I go to bed. I don't want to hear it. It's annoying. And you think about what I do for a living, but no, I don't want to hear it. It's really annoying, and I don't need to hear all of the numbers sorted through as they come in. What I do is I get up the next morning, and I show up at work, and I take a look at what happened. To me, it's a lot like after a house has this is a great analogy. You'll love this analogy. After a house has burned down, the fire investigator shows up to sift through it all to find out what happened here. I mean, we all know it was a fire, but why? What happened? That's what I feel like. I get up the next morning, Wednesday morning, and I show up at work, and I start to sift through the debris that was the election to find out, all right, what happened? Morning, Jim. Jim says, yesterday the line to vote was about 40 minutes long. Wow. And stayed that way pretty much all morning. Friday was the same. Hopefully that's an indication that people are fed up. Yes. I really do hope that is an indication. Now, this is why I said a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, I think it was, I was at the radio studio in Cheyenne for KGAB. one of the stations that carries this program. And when I got off the air, a little after 10 o'clock in the morning, I walked outside. This is right in downtown, and the courthouse is right behind, because the station is in upstairs in one of the taller buildings in downtown Cheyenne, right on Capitol Boulevard, within a couple of blocks from the Capitol. Behind the building is the courthouse, and there was a line out the door and down the block. And I thought, wow, are they voting? Holy cow. So when I showed up to my district to vote, I went to the courthouse, and I was really surprised because in past years, there's people there, but I don't have to wait. There's always a clerk available, and there's no waiting, even though there's other people there voting. This time, I actually had to get in line. Wow. So a lot of people are getting this done early. We'll find out what that does for the numbers. In the meantime, for the rest of you out there who still haven't made up your minds,
Do you pay much attention to politics? So what, do you get your news from Facebook, Twitter, maybe some late-night comedy show? Do you even have any idea who your senator is? Who's the vice president? So how do you decide who you're going to vote for? What, do you flip a coin? Every election season, there are get-out-the-vote campaigns, asking completely unqualified voters to show up at the polls at the last minute and flip a coin. If you've spent the past 2 years completely uninformed and out of the loop, then do your country a favor. Don't show up at the polls. Don't vote. Take the day off. Go to the beach. Hang out at your local bar. Watch a ball game instead. Or check out some reality TV. Our nation's in sad shape because people like you have been voting. So this year, do your country a favor. Stay home. Stay out of the vote. America is depending on your apathy. Brought to you by the Campaign to Promote Uninformed Voter Apathy.
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. Where Wyoming talk. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS.
Hollywood is in Laramie. We're talking about voting lines. Voting in Wyoming, anyway, opens up at 7 o'clock. Hollywood says, I wasn't alone in the line. I'm sure we have many votes already counted. Yeah. He's someone who decided to go ahead and, like I did, get there early, but early didn't necessarily mean shorter lines. He said, I was expecting that there would be a very busy voting day, and I didn't like standing outside in the cold and the wind, so I voted at the Albany County Courthouse, which you certainly can. Yeah, did check again with the county you're in or the Secretary of State's office to find out, if you don't know where to go vote, where to do that. And let me see, that was from Laramie, so Jim is up in Casper. About half my ballot was empty or filled in with my friends' names. I put you down, that would be me, for U.S. Senate. Oh, wow, I got to vote for U.S. Senate? Wow. A lot of local stuff had no one worthy of serving as my representative in any capacity. So what Jim did is he took a look at the people who were on the ballot, decided locally he didn't have anyone that he really wanted to vote for. He didn't like any of the names on the ballot. So he started to write in people, which he's certainly allowed to do. And he wrote in me for U.S. Senate. Well, thank you. That's one vote that I got, and I didn't even run. Wow. I'm already dreaming about what I would do in the Senate. Well, no, trust me, I would just start voting to shut down a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of no votes, especially when it comes to spending on my part. Okay, so from Babylon Bee, God bless them, they're doing such a good job. Babylon Bee writes, Democrats warn that if Trump is elected, it will be the end of bureaucracy as we know it. I wish I had thought of that story. That's a great idea. They write, on the eve of a hotly contested presidential election, top Democrats warn the American people that if Trump is elected, it would likely be the end of bureaucracy as we know it. The sobering news came as voters prepared to head out to the polls, with many prominent members of the Democrat Party issuing public pleas for people to turn out to defend the federal government's bureaucratic establishment from certain death. Quote, this is a dire situation, said Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. If Donald Trump gets back in office, there's a high risk that he will completely overhaul our failed, inefficient mess of a government, an outcome we can't afford to see become reality. We need your help with this bloated, rotting carcass of federal bureaucracy to keep it in power at all costs. Other Democrats argued another Trump presidency would likely spell doom for the lucrative but wasteful government programs with increased efficiency. Would happen under Trump. That's what they worry about. And wasteful government programs would go away. Reduced tax revenue taken in by the government would have a devastating effect on their ability to become wealthy. Quote, our system of government has never faced a more imminent threat, said Nancy Pelosi. The days of elected officials getting rich from the kickbacks and secret bribes and insider trading may be over. Serving the public should never be a motivation factor for entering public service. I fear for our nation and my life. At the publishing time, Democrats also warned that elected Trump would result in terrifying prospects for the federal government's operating more efficiently while spending less money. So that's what could happen. Depends on what the results are. All right, coming up on local news, update on your weather forecast right after that, then you and I get back to. By the way, windy out there, and of course that means if you're along I-80 this morning, the usual places where it gets really windy, watch out because there's already YDOT's put up some high wind warnings. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Friday.
Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
I'm so happy to be here, yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still I know the world's on fire, the situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but I'm just happy to be here.
Next hour of the program, I'm going to have, I'm going to pick on some parties again. You know, there's more than two political parties, of course, across the country, and there's more than two political parties in the state of Wyoming. Well, the Democrats were, for the most part, no-shows, and what they did was pathetic this time around in the state of Wyoming. And then there's some other parties like the Libertarian Party, the Constitution Party, which have some names on the ballot, but they're just... where have they been? So next hour of the program, I'm going to spend a little time picking on them for not doing anything. Because we keep complaining in America. We need something better than a two-party system. We probably need a third party. There's multiple parties in America and in Wyoming. But they have no idea how to get organized and actually accomplish anything. That's been a big part of the problem. Okay, the political ads are not done. Political ads end tomorrow. I mean, some people are under the impression of, well, everybody's going to the polls. We're done with the political ads. Oh, no. This is the last that they run.
This election, your choice couldn't be more important. Our candidate is in flattering lighting and full bright color. Their candidate is in grainy high contrast black and white, spotted through a telephoto lens from behind a bush, coming back from God only knows where. Our guy points at the horizon and holds a baby. Their guy doesn't have a baby. Their guy has a golf club. The voiceover for our guy is calm, measured, bright. Their guy gets the lower register, and sometimes we slow down. Our guy has clean headlines and the beautiful lens flare America needs. Here's a scary graph over a photo of their guy awkwardly laughing. Snap zoom. Do you want a snap zoom like that in office? Here's a photo of our guy saluting military veterans. Jump cuts, flashes, static, aggressive colors. You can't trust a guy with graphics like this. Our guy gets stock footage of sunrises and an American flag. Their guy's flag is upside down and on fire, intercut with overdue bills, war, and a crying baby. Our guy gets doctors and astronauts and stimulus checks. Flatline, an eagle, hurricane, the Statue of Liberty, crime scene tape, Ronald Reagan, a girl running in a wheat field to escape a dangerous sexual predator, welding, atomic bomb. This election, the choice is yours. Their guy or our guy. Inspiring slogan.
Basic political ad for you. Okay, now, this is one that I put out quite a few years ago when there was, during election time, this asteroid that was passing close to Earth. And some people had this idea, we don't really like who's on the ballot for President of the United States. Can we just go ahead and vote for the giant asteroid to come smashing into Earth and just put us all out of our misery? Not a bad idea.
Let's face it, 2020 sucks, and you can't trust anything that you hear in the news anymore. Politicians, please find a good one. With the world going as haywire as it's gone, it's about time that we voted for change.
Initiating launch sequence.
A celestial object known as 218 VP1, what a sexy name, is screaming toward Earth and could hit here November 2nd, the day before the election. But since many of you are voting early, we encourage you to take this opportunity to vote Giant Asteroid 2020, because the Earth just needs to be put out of its misery. Let's face it. Brought to you by the Campaign for Total Planetary Annihilation. Vote 2018 VP1, because 2020 sucks that much.
There are times I kind of think about that. Now, of course, there's a lot of hysterics out there, and I have heard from people who say they want to leave the country if the wrong person gets elected. And those same people who say that every single election season never leave the country. So I've solved that problem.
Are you a liberal who actually said out loud that you would leave the country if a Republican was elected president?
I'm serving my ticket to get out of here if he wins. Only because he probably have me deported anyway.
If any Republican gets nominated, I'm going to move to Canada with my entire family.
I'm sure you meant elected, not nominated. And you're sure Canada really wants you?
Now, I know some of you are saying that you'll move to Canada. Please don't.
Well, let it never be said that conservatives are not compassionate, because now a free service brought to you by Taxing the American People will help you move today with Move-A-Lib. With Move-A-Lib, we will arrive at your door the moment that the election is settled. Our fleet of Move-A-Lib professionals are anxious to get your sorry butts out of here immediately. Need more than one truck? Oh, for God's sakes, we'll take care of that for you. No problem. Can't afford a plane ticket? We'll put you on a boat. Just name a country and we'll provide all of the documentation to send you there as quickly as possible. Once you leave, you're not welcome back. And please don't let the screen door hit you on the way out. Call today. 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. That's 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. Reserve your moving van before November.
See, we're just helpful. That's all. We're just helpful. Same thing goes this time around. I should look up to see if there's a list of celebrities that said they would leave the country because many have, if Trump gets elected. And by all means, happy to help you. By the way, the woman that you heard in that said, some of you said you wanted to move to Canada. Please don't. That woman was Canadian. And she just, please stay in America. We don't need you here. 642, wake up.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
6:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, Frank, as you know, when you turn on the different sports channels on television, and there are many,
yes,
you got a lot of pundits sitting around before the game talking about what's going to happen during the game and why, and then the game happens and they're wrong about everything, right?
Yeah, and it used to be just like 2 or 3 people would
Yes.
do a football game. Now there's like 9.
Yes.
3 people before the game,
Yes.
3 different people at halftime, and then after the game,
Yes.
I'm like, it's like they're bludgeoning you
Yes.
with stuff to kill time. Just put the game
Exactly,
on.
for God's sake. So today is, of course, when everybody goes off to vote. And if you turn on any of what are supposed to be news channels, they're all doing the same thing, but with the election.
Oh yeah. If you're, by the way, if you're undecided, you can write me in.
Yeah, well, actually,
FrankGambino. I will take care of myself first and then work for you.
Yes. So you see, someone's already done that for me. I already have a listener who is also a friend of mine, who, when he got to Senate, didn't like any of the choices for Senate for Wyoming. So he wrote me in.
Okay.
So there's one.
I think one year I got 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good. There was 1 year, okay, so I was up in Gillette when I first got to Wyoming, and there was only one guy running for sheriff. So, of course, he's going to get all the votes.
Yeah.
So I wrote in Longmire, thinking that I'm being really clever, right? It turns out several hundred other people thought to do the same thing. And so
he almost won.
Yes, he actually got a good chunk of the vote up there, which I thought was absolutely hysterical. Then I thought, what if he had actually won? What do we do? Go get the actor or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you have a new job, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, yeah. So, if you want to go ahead and write someone in, everybody's done Mickey Mouse. That's already been done before. You want to write somebody in, try to think of something unusual. And I don't mind if you vote for me. Frank likes it when you vote for him.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter what town or district.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
If you vote for me and I win, I'll move.
So you got 6 votes one year, huh?
Yeah, well,
that's okay.
But say you're in like a really small town where only 11 people vote.
Yes.
All righty then. In men's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowboys picked up the win to start the regular season, drilling Concordia of St. Paul and Laramie 108-85. The Pokes had 6 players in double figures and rang up an arena record of 45 field goals. Obi Egbin had 25 points on the night, and Scotty Ubibe had chipped in 19. Plus, the Cowboys had just 8 turnovers in the game. That's pretty good. They'll host Tennessee State on Sunday in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team lost to Colorado in Boulder last night, 56-50 in their regular season opener. Neither team shot the ball very well in the game. The Cowgirls had 38%, and they went 3 of 15 from the three-point line. CU was 33%, going 1 of 10 from the land of 3, and they still won. Allison Furdy led Wyoming with 18 points. She was 7 of 11 from the field, and the Cowgirls will be at BYU on Saturday afternoon. State High School volleyball tournament will start on Thursday at the Ford Center in Casper. And 4A Laramie is the number 1 seed from the East. They'll take on the Trojans at 6 p.m. in round 1 on Thursday. Kelly Walsh is the number 1 seed from the West, and the Trojans will draw Cheyenne East at 1 p.m. In 2A, Pine Bluffs is in the tournament. They'll meet Thermop at 4:30, and that state tournament runs from Thursday till Saturday at the Ford Center in Casper. Junior college volleyball, Casper College finished the regular season 8-24 with losses to LCCC and Eastern Wyoming. The T-Birds did not qualify for the Region 9 tournament that will be held in Cheyenne starting tomorrow. LCCC did qualify as the number 4 seed from the North with an overall record of 11-19. The Golden Eagles will play NJC from Sterling tomorrow at 4:30. College football, Wyoming Cowboy freshman quarterback Caden Anderson named the Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Week after throwing for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Pokes' 49-45 win over New Mexico on Saturday in Albuquerque. He was 20 of 29 throwing the ball, and obviously a big improvement over the previous starter, Evan Swoboda. UW has the week off, and they'll be at Colorado State for the Border War next week. That's it in sports.
Wow, the Border War next week. Okay.
Yeah, so they have a week off, which is nice.
Right.
I believe they, those games have a personality of their own. I mean, they really, really do. And if you've been to one, you know how high the emotions are on both teams, and how important that bronze boot trophy is. It's a big deal.
So, how has our competition been doing this year?
Well, better than Wyoming has.
Okay, but not great.
They're better than Wyoming is.
Okay.
We don't want to give them too much credit.
Too much credit. Okay, I was hoping you would say they suck too.
Yeah, then they may want to think like they want that they're big enough to join a different league.
Yes.
Oh, that's what they did.
Oh well, by God, that's what they did. Yeah,
they thought they're too big, and let's go join a different league.
Yeah, so we're just going to take our boot and go home with it.
Pretty much.
All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Nan. There's a whole list of political parties out there across the United States. There are 4 in the state of Wyoming, and many of you didn't know there were more than 2. We'll talk about that next and why those other 2 parties are good political parties, but also lame at the same time. I'll explain it. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Friday.
.06 to the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday. It's Election Day. And I got just the perfect Election Day meme that I just found. Hang on.
Today's show is sponsored by Squid-Flavored Donuts, bringing the flavor of the ocean to your breakfast pastry.
And don't forget that is a thing, because if you go to Cheyenne, Wyoming on Lincoln Way, right next to the McDonald's on Lincoln Way, there is a sushi donut shop in one. That doesn't mean they put sushi in the donut, but both shops are in the same. Yeah, you walk in and they'll ask you, did you want sushi or donuts?
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So the meme I just came across, this is really good, says idolizing a politician. Like some people, the cult of Obama, for example. Idolizing a politician is like believing that the stripper really likes you. Well, that's about right, yeah. Okay, it is Election Day. Polls officially open in the state of Wyoming. Polls open at 7 o'clock. If you don't know where to go, then I would say you probably don't know what's on the ballot, so please don't go. You know my Stay Out the Vote campaign. Only people who've done their homework, please. Only people who know what they're voting for and why. Show up and vote, please. If you don't know what's on the ballot, if you haven't even looked at a sample ballot, then please do us all a favor. Don't show up because you're just guessing at that point. And just guessing is not doing anybody any good. So that's why every year I don't have a Get Out the Vote campaign. I have a Stay Out the Vote campaign. Only vote if you're someone who knows what you're doing. Now, for those people who don't know where to go, Secretary of State's office or your county clerk will let you know. But you should have already done that homework in advance. All right, so I was going to take a look at different political parties out there, because in case you didn't know, and I do this every 4 years or so, there are currently 4 political parties in the state of Wyoming. I think maybe even a 5th is on the ballot for just the presidential elections and so on. But did you know? Can you name who they are? Some of you can, most of you can't. And I'll go through that in just a minute. Now, Hollywood and Laramie, I remember signing a petition to create a cowboy party, but didn't switch to join them. I'm still a Republican, and there is no cowboy party right now, so apparently it didn't work out. Fire Pit Paul, the place is called High Sushi. Yes, that's it, and it is I wrote about an article about this, Paul, and talked about it last week. Yes, you walk into the place in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and it's right next to the McDonald's on Lincoln Way. And when you walk in, there's a young man behind the counter, would you like donuts or sushi? And I said, could you take the sushi and put it in the donut hole? And he laughed and then said to me, no, really, which would you? I got a couple of donuts, and they were actually very good. All right, political parties around the United States. Then I'll get to Wyoming. Nationwide, of course, there's the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, then the Libertarian Party. In case you haven't heard of them, there's the Forward Party. That's a national party, the Forward Party. I'll have to look them up because I've actually never heard about them before. I'm going to open them up in a new tab and go back. Let's see. There's the Progressive Party, the Independent Party, the Green Party, the Constitution Party, the No Labels Party, the Working Families Party, the Alliance Party, the American Independent Party, the Liberal Party, at least they're being honest about who they are, the Natural Law Party. This one gets me. Party for Socialism and Liberation, which is an oxymoron. If you're into socialism, you're not into liberation. Jeff in Casper says, long line to vote at the fairgrounds. I believe it. That's where they go, most people go in the Casper area, go to the fairgrounds, and they open up this big building for people to go into. Let's see, there's the American Solidarity Party, the Working Class Party. Now, some of these parties are just statewide parties, okay? But there's the Peace and Freedom Party, Approval Voting Party, People's Party, Colorado Center Party. That's actually a party in Colorado, Colorado Center Party. Conservative Party of New York State, Independent Party of Louisiana, and et cetera there. And I say, we have the Socialist Workers' Party. That's actually a party in the United States. It's far left, very far left. And let's see, Socialist Equality Party. A lot of socialist. There is a Communist Party in the United States. Now, I love this one also, an oxymoron. The Freedom Socialist Party. Yeah, there is no such thing as, it's an oxymoron, Freedom Socialist. You get the idea. Okay, so, and there's many other parties that have come along over the years and died out really quickly. So there was a Union Party at some point. All right. So I decided after looking at all of this, what was here in Wyoming. And we used to have the Green Party in Wyoming. They don't exist anymore. But right now, of course, there's the Republican Party in Wyoming, the main party by far. Then there's the Democrat Party, who pretty much did not show up to this election cycle. They pretty much didn't show up. There were some Democrats out there running for various things, but do you know who they are? Have you heard from them? And in the past, I've had Democrats running for various office on this program. Some of you might remember Merav Ben David. She had no problem calling into this program, and I let her talk. I mean, I disagreed with everything she had to say, but I didn't argue with her. I just asked her questions and let her answer honestly so you can get an idea of what she was all about. And I knew she wasn't going to win because not only did she not have not even the most basic understanding about how our republic works, but not even a basic understanding of history. Her view of world history and American history is really skewed. Because so she never won anything. But all right, then there were various Democrats who ran for other offices around the state of Wyoming, and there are some Democrats who hold some offices in the Wyoming House and Senate, but that number's even shrunk over the years as far as actual registered Democrats. And I know some of you will say, well, there's some Republicans that should be Democrats, and I would agree with you on that. But okay, who else then? Well, the Wyoming Libertarian Party is still around, although they don't really do anything. I went to their website this morning, and they don't have one anymore. If you go to there's a link. I put a story up for you on the Wake Up Wyoming site. If you go to the Wyoming Libertarian Party, what you get is the national link. There's no local. So then I decided, let's go ahead and look up any social media. I'll try Facebook first. They do have a Facebook page. The last time they posted was October of 2023. If you look at your ballot, there are some libertarian candidates, a few, on your ballot here in the state of Wyoming. Have you ever heard of them? And Miss Mary and I have put out invitations to anybody running for any office to come on this program. Just come on and talk. I'll let you talk. I wouldn't interrupt. I'll just ask questions and let you introduce yourself to the public. Have not heard anything from the Libertarian Party, even though invitations went out. You would think if they wanted to win a seat somewhere, that they would seek this program out. I mean, if you were running for any office, you would be looking for any opportunity to get attention. And if there's a radio program that's on multiple stations around the state, of course you would call that program, can I get on? And of course I would let you on. Absolutely. All right, then there's the Wyoming Constitution Party. And that's the same thing. The Wyoming Constitution Party is just like the Libertarian Party. Have you heard from them lately? So I went to their website. They do have one. And I went to their social media, like, for example, their Facebook page, and they at least posted last in October of this year. But have you heard anything from the Wyoming Constitution Party? Yeah. So if you haven't voted yet, when you get your ballot, you will find these parties on your ballot somewhere. They exist. And the reason I haven't, I just kind of looked at it and shrugged my shoulders and thought, I guess you're not serious about this, guys. You're not even here. You never showed up. No one ever heard an ad. I didn't see anything anywhere for you guys. So do you even exist anymore? Is it worth it, or should we just cancel you in the state of Wyoming?
What's your biggest ick in a guy? Probably when they drive like a Tesla or any type of electric car. Why? I don't know. I'm not really like into feminine guys. You know, like they need to be masculine. And it's feminine to drive a Tesla? It's not very manly like when your car doesn't make any noise.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, yeah, I just went through the other Wyoming political parties that you never hear from. And most people think that Wyoming has the Republican Party, a few Democrats out there, and that's it. There's two other parties, they never show up, even when they run a candidate. Now, I do get a note here, I.D. John and Granite Canyon. Morning, Glenn. You always forget about your favorite Democrat, Sarah Burlingame. Well, Sarah is running again for office, and I would actually say that she showed up because I've been listening to political ads, and she has been out there doing events and so on. So she's a Democrat that actually has shown up to run for office in the state of Wyoming. Most other candidates have no idea what they're doing. And this is why I tell most other candidates that are running for any office for the first time, I tell them, and when you lost for the third time, you've run 3 times and lost 3 times. Now you know how to run for office. It takes a while. It's a bit of a skill learned to run for office, how to get attention, keep attention, get your face in the news. It really is a lot of work to get that done. And it doesn't usually happen overnight. I've met a few people who've won, first time out, they ran for something, they won it. It is really extraordinarily rare. It takes a lot of work to get out there, get your name and face known by the public and trusted. So when people see the ballot, they know. And remember, most of the people out there and they don't listen to talk radio, most people out there don't pay attention to politics until the last minute. So when it comes time to vote, the name that they know is the one that they hear and recognize most often. So that's what they vote for. They go with what they know. Let's see, this is Grady, who's in Laramie. He said, do people know socialism is not for the people? And this is because when I was reading about American political parties, there's basically several Democrat socialist parties. The People's Party, for the people. The Freedom Socialist Party, parties like that. I'd like to know why people voting for her, Kamala, why exactly they're voting for her. She is absurd. Well, because she's not Trump. And I'll just mention that for a minute. When it comes down to voting for Harris for president, there's a lot of people who just they hate Trump or they're afraid of Trump or a combination of the two. And so if I put a bag of hammers on the ballot, they would vote for that over Trump. In fact, even I don't remember who was it, who said, I would rather, I'm going to vote for you, Kamala, but I would vote for that wall over Trump. So, Howard Stern said that. So, and he said that to her face, by the way. I'm voting for you, but I would vote for that wall over Trump. So that's why they're doing this. They don't really care for Kamala Harris all that much. She's just not Trump. And so that's what they're going for. So there's a certain segment of the population that believes that. And yeah, in America we do have a bit of a culture war going on, sure, but also, and this is something I'll get into a little bit later on in the morning here, as I've been saying for several months now, your news media is not helping because they're not reporting news. They've chosen sides. And there was ever any wonder at all, any doubt in anybody's mind that the news media is not reporting news, but they have chosen sides in this fight. It's been in this campaign, especially during the last few weeks of it, in this election season, especially during the last few weeks of it. I think most people have seen what news media is doing, what they've lied about. And then I would like to see some kind of a survey afterwards, a good survey, of people's faith in news media after this election. Because even my faith, and I've been very cynical about it, has gone so far downhill. When I get up in the morning nice and early to go looking for something to talk to you folks about, news media or any kind of organization, news media, that I trust to deliver you not just accurate news, but nonpartisan news, just news. The organizations that I trust have gone down to pretty much nothing right now. I have to sort through news stories from all sorts of different news organizations and pick out what's true about the story and throw the rest of it away. That's about all I can do, because so many news organizations have chosen sides, and not just the left side, the right side too. That's what we're dealing with right now, which is why so many voters out there are not at all informed on what's going on, because it's partisan garbage that they're being fed. This is the worst. I've seen it bad over the years. I know you have too. I've seen it really bad over the years. This is the worst I've ever seen it. And I would love, just like I would love to see some political parties pop up that replace the two major parties that we have right now, I would love to see some news organizations pop up that replace what we currently have for news organizations. And there are a few out of there that are trying, but they're so small right now that most people don't know that they exist. But I hope over a period of time they'll start to gain some ground. I really hope that they do. In the meantime, we still have a crop of politicians and bureaucrats who are the same old people that get elected time and time again. I think that was a big part of the problem the last time Republicans had a whole list of candidates. Well, I mean, not just this election, but the first time Trump ran, there was a whole long list of Republicans that wanted to run for the nomination. And I think that why they were rejected and Trump was chosen the first time Trump ran for office is because he was not the status quo. So a lot of that is what we have to get rid of. And that's going to be a lot of work, because besides misinformation, which comes from your government and the news media, and the number of people who don't pay attention anyway, there's a lot to fix here. There's a whole lot to fix. I'm not trying to sound like a downer. I'm just kind of sorting through it all here. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. That's news time. After news time, update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Oh, and then, speaking of weather forecast, Don Day joins me at 7:45. And over the next few days, things are kind of squirrely out there as far as weather goes. A mixture of blah and nice, and we don't know what's going to hit. He'll try to explain it at 7:45. Wake up, Wyoming.
The only show broadcasting from a bunker under Devil's Tower. Hey, it's cold down here. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, 6 a.m. weekdays on AM 1030 and FM 95.1.
7:36 the time. Don Day will be on there with this weather forecast that's pretty much schizophrenic, but he'll explain it to you at 7:45. Meantime, I'm going to get off politics for just a bit. I know, thank God. Well, I'm looking at the ridiculously large television they have in my studio here and the conversation they have now explaining the youth vote in the 2024 election. Boy, talk about a time killer, that is. All right, let's go up to Gillette. In Gillette, Wyoming, the public library, as you know, had a big fight over inappropriate books in the kids section. And those people on the left in our state, right, of course, we're saying we are trying to ban books. No. There's a certain books that are very graphic in nature, really graphic. And that's just not suitable for some of those age groups. So parents wanted it moved. Now, some people did want it out of the library. Other people said, just move it. So if the kid has permission from the parent, then okay, go look at those books. Other than that, a lot of parents just don't want their kids looking at certain materials at that age. It's just too graphic. So nobody's trying to ban anything. All right, well, here's the latest from Cowboy State Daily. Story says the public library in Gillette, Wyoming is disbanding its new adult section, which detractors called a place for the library's Book of Shame. Named after the publisher's terms for books, they are written for an audience of a younger adult or people new to adulthood. The new adult section became a landing zone And the March for books written for was supposed to be a younger audience, but determined to be inappropriate for a younger audience. That was put in the new section of the library. But now they're deciding to do something different. Creating the new adult section, the story said, followed months of controversy, as I told you. The board was considering policy language defining the new adult section, but discarded the idea at a public meeting on October 28th. The main reason the new adult section didn't take off was its confusing name. Quote, librarians are having a hard time when people see the title New Adult Section. They think the new books for adults. So new adult is not what they want to go with. So it's going to be a similar section what they end up doing, probably just under a different name. And some detractors told the board that the Sparse itself was in a place in the library frequented by homeless people, and some folks felt unsafe. You know, that dark corner of the library way back there. Some jeeringly called the section contents the Book of Shame. The 4 books remaining will be moved to what's just basically the adult section. And then the story talks about what these books are and so on. But they're really just trying to find a place. So it's not out of the library, but it's a restricted section. So as a parent, if you would like your kid to read these books, which are supposed to be kids' books, but again has very graphic material in it, you can do that. You go to that adult section, you go find the book, it's there, take it out, and go give it to your kid. Because that's what you want to do. That's some people are going to disagree with you, but it's your kid. You make the decision. What they're not doing is putting the book in a section where your kid can just find it. Because some parents have a hard time with that. They don't want their kid, who they want to keep that material away from their kid. Again, it's too graphic. To just go sort of looking through books in the kids section and come across something very graphic like that and wonder, what am I looking at here? And some people think that would have a bad influence. So you get the basic idea. So what Gillette's trying to do is figure out, how does this work? The new adult section wasn't working out. And again, that was kind of in the dark corner of the library, kind of a creepy section where some creepy people hung out. Let's not do that. So the adult section, let me go through again how this is supposed to work. If a parent is okay with their kid seeing some of this graphic material that maybe you as a parent wouldn't want your kid to see, then they can go look that book up. It's there. It's not banned. It's just under adult supervision. That parent can go to that restricted adult section, take out the book, and go and hand it to their kid, if that's what they want their kid to see. Now, that is not banning books. For those people who keep saying, you're banning books, nobody's banning anything. Just not everybody wants to see that. Not everybody wants their kids to stumble across that. All right, so I did say that the weather's gotten a bit schizophrenic. And for those people who have been enjoying that nice, mild October that we had, well, that's pretty much all gone. So Don Day's coming up next. He's going to explain all of that as best he can, because it's hard to explain schizophrenia. 7:42, wake up.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Time off, we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. So, Don, I was trying to find a way to describe the weather, and I chose the word schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Okay.
One way to describe it. I think you could probably call Wyoming's climate that as well, just the whole year.
Okay. Yeah, that would make a whole lot of sense. So, and I say that because over the next few days, not only do things just keep constantly changing up, but as I look at different forecasts from different sources, when things happen keeps changing too.
Well, and, you know, I harp on this all the time, and it also depends on where you are. Because the northern part of the state is going to see a pretty good chance of widespread light snow today. While the central and the south, it's going to be more of a snow flurry here, a snow shower there. We're already seeing some pretty icy conditions over the mountain passes. We have no unnecessary travel over Togety Pass right now. So those northern and western mountain passes already seen the snow.
Wow. Okay. And let's also mention, not just snow, but those icy conditions. The roads are shiny out there, folks. So now, does it stay this way all week?
No, what'll happen is the next 48 hours is just, you used the word blah yesterday. Okay. Yeah. So we'll stick with blah, 100% chance of blah through tomorrow. The wind, the cold, the snow showers. There's a break in the weather Thursday into Friday and Saturday for most of the state. Again, I've got to go back to, depends on where you are, because we're still watching this storm that'll be in Colorado Friday and Saturday that might just clip the far southeast corner of the state. That storm, Glenn, is going to be a doozy. It's going to just wallop Colorado and western Kansas with a really strong November snowstorm. So anybody having designs on heading that way Friday and Saturday, you need to be prepared for it. But the rest of the state, really Thursday through Saturday, there's a little bit of a break there. But we're going to see snow return to the west as soon as Saturday night. And I think on Sunday, the northern part of the state is going to see snow showers again. It's going to get windy on the plains, and it gets colder. Then we have a strong front coming in Monday night, Tuesday.
Now, speaking of windy, between Cheyenne and, we go way over to Rawlins, which is the usual area. The interstate, of course, has a wind warning for most of the day, just so you know, blow over risk, things like that. I guess that sticks with us for a little while.
That will, yes. Certainly, I do see the winds backing off by tomorrow morning along that I-80 and I-25 stretch. But, we've got blow over risk right there. And we're also getting snow showers now along there. So to add insult to injury, you can blow over and get snowed on at the same time.
Okay. Hey, boy, gosh, that just sounds like fun. All right. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. Golly, gee, that's I-80 for you, isn't it? Let's go ahead and go into that part of the country and just put an interstate right through it. Why the hell not? Off we go to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, so, Frank, this did not happen in Wyoming. It happened somewhere else.
Okay.
But Wyoming officials were looking at this going, what were you thinking? So Armenia.
That's in Utah, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Armenian wildlife rangers decided to, we're going to go ahead and take this bear they tranked a bear, knocked it out, did some work on it, some good stuff, and it was time to release it. So there's the bear cage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the bear cage is dropped on the ground behind a pickup truck. This guy goes over on top of the cage and opens up the gate, thinking, I'm on top of the cage, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. Well, according to the story, when bears wake up from being tranquilized like that, they're a little cranky.
You think?
Yes. And so the bear comes out of the gate there and turns around and sees the human on top of the cage.
And wants to bite him.
Yes. And so you can imagine the attack as the guy's running across the cage up to across to the pickup truck. He's trying to get into the pickup truck. The bear is on his heels the entire way. And so here in Wyoming, game and fish officials are going, we use a remote control for that.
Oh, no, isn't this like they did everything wrong?
Yes. What they do here in Wyoming is they put a cage down with the bear in it, and then they go far away with a remote control to open the gate.
Yeah.
So when the bear comes out looking for some butt to kick,
he just can't find it.
There's nobody there.
Armenia.
What do you expect from Armenia?
Right.
I mean, a guy almost became bear food right there. And I look at it this way, from the bear's point of view. Imagine, Frank, that for no reason whatsoever, you suddenly were hit in the behind by a tranquilizer dart. Mm-hmm. And then it's like aliens, on a spaceship. You wake up in some place where you're being probed. And and of course you've got to get that little thing, that little tracking device chip put in you, like the Tin Hatters talk about. And then finally you wake up in a cage out in the cold somewhere, and you're still groggy. You probably have a headache after all of this and nightmares of being probed. So when someone opens up the door, are you interested in running like hell, or do you want a piece of somebody?
Just don't poke the bear.
Well, there you go, Frank.
Don't poke the bear. Men's college basketball. The Wyoming Cowboys picked up a win to start the regular season last night, drilling Concordia of St. Paul and Laramie 108-85. The Cowboys had a half a dozen players in double figures and rang up an arena record of 45 field goals. Obi Eggman had 25 points on the night. Scotty Obibe had chipped in 19. Plus, the Cowboys had just 8 turnovers in the game. That's pretty good. They'll host Tennessee State on Sunday in Laramie. The Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team lost to Colorado in Boulder last night, 56-50 in their regular season opener. Neither team shot the ball all that well. The Cowgirls had 38%. They were 3 of 15 from the three-point line. CU was 33%, going 1 of 10 from the land of 3, and still won the game. Allison Fertig led Wyoming with 18 points on 7 of 11 from the field, and they'll be at BYU on Saturday afternoon in Provo. State high school volleyball tournament will start on Thursday at the Ford Center in Casper, and 4A Laramie is the number 1 seed from the east. They'll take on the Trona, the number 4 seed from the west, in round 1 at 6 p.m. on Thursday. Kelly Walsh, the number 1 seed from the west, and the Trojans will draw Cheyenne East at 1 p.m. on Thursday. And in 2A, Pine Bluffs is in this deal. They will meet Thermopolis at 4:30. The state tournament runs from Thursday till Saturday. Junior college volleyball, Casper College finished the regular season 8-24 with losses to LCCC from Cheyenne and Eastern Wyoming. The Birds did not qualify for the Region 9 tournament that will start tomorrow in Cheyenne. LCCC did qualify as the number 4 seed from the north with an overall record of 11-19. Golden Eagles will play NJC from Sterling in the first round tomorrow at 4:30. College football, the Wyoming Cowboy freshman quarterback Caden Anderson named the Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Week after throwing for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Pokes' 49-45 win over New Mexico on Saturday in Albuquerque. He was 20 of 29 throwing the ball, and obviously a big improvement over the previous starter, Evan Swoboda. UW does have this week off, and they will be at Colorado State next week for the border war, and that is a huge, huge game for both teams.
That is, and could it be the last border war?
Well, I think since CSU is leaving, I think they've indicated they would like this to continue.
Yeah.
So now they have to find a spot in a non-conference schedule portion starting in 2026 where they both, we have dates to do this. Sometimes your non-conference schedule is made years in advance. Years in advance. So they're going to have to do some work, but as long as they keep doing this, I mean, they're right down the road. There's no excuse. There's no excuse not to have the game.
Yeah.
None. Zero.
It just wouldn't count, I guess, to their big season. It's just a private matter. Would that be it?
It's a non-conference game. You play for pride. It's a long-time rivalry, the longest west of the Mississippi. Play the game, no matter what league you're in.
Yeah. And for God's sakes, keep the boot in Wyoming.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. Got to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Now, I got a lot more to go through here, as some of it's election related, but really it's nothing more than the polls are open and people are voting, and nobody really knows anything until all of that is done. So I'm not spending a lot of time analyzing and punditizing. Is that a word? I just made it up. Punditizing is a word now, because we don't really know anything until this is all done. So let's wake up, Wyoming. 8:06 at the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Tuesday. It's election day. It's the day you finally get to the polls and get this out of your system.
Today's show is sponsored by Squid Flavored Donuts, bringing the flavor of the ocean to your breakfast pastry.
And don't forget, you can get that in Cheyenne, Wyoming, on Lincoln Way, next to the McDonald's. There is a sushi donut restaurant. Combined, yeah. No, they don't put the sushi in the donut, but you can get sushi or donuts at that restaurant. So that thing does exist.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
A few text messages I'm getting. By the way, if you haven't done it before, you can text message me on the program. Download the Wake Up Wyoming app. It's free, and it offers you all sorts of benefits for free. One of them is while I'm on the air, you hit the chat option and send me text messages. I'll get to those in just a moment. Real quick, taking a look at what WYDOT is putting up for road conditions right about now. Because across the state of Wyoming, as Don Day was saying, 7:45, as he was explaining the forecast, and not just today, but for the next couple of days, a lot of it's just blah. So I-80, of course, Cheyenne to Rawlins, Sinclair area. I'd say mostly Sinclair. And that includes heading over to Rock River, Medicine Bow, and Hannah. All of that area. Consider that just to be windy, icy, kind of slick in that area, just so you know. And here's a road I haven't tried before. It goes from just north of Rock River down to I-80. Haven't tried that one yet. I might have to do that. Okay, so there's that. There's other areas around there that are just sort of slick and icy. Just be careful between Wheatland and Cheyenne and Chugwater heading up over the big buttes over there. If you're anywhere around 287 or 220, which is going to take you through the Muddy Gap area, that's, again, just questionable. Round I-80 heading into Rock Springs, same thing. If you wanted to head over to Big Piney, a lot of the roads out there, again, just questionable. In fact, there's even a section, Highway 28, that goes from Du Bois on up and over the mountains into Jackson, which are saying if you don't have to, don't. Also, in the northern part of the state, let me see. In fact, I'll go anything over the Bighorns, questionable. If you're going from Buffalo to Gillette, questionable. You can do it, but again, it's just kind of slick and questionable. Also from Midwest to Gillette as well. Just so those are some of the road conditions I want to get out of the way. We'll keep you posted. You've been through far worse, I know. Just keep that in mind. All right, so some of the notes I'm getting. Jim in Laramie. I heard Muriel Bowser was telling people to get their information from official sources so they don't get misinformation from other sources. This statement makes me wonder if the fix is already in. Look, when it comes to you're talking election information. For me, it's information news in general. The news media has really showed more than ever who they are. The mask is off. They're just flat out being as biased and as horrible as they can possibly be. I'll get into this in a little bit later this hour, but how bad the news media is really blown up, which I appreciate. I want people to have the accurate amount of trust for our news media, which is none. The way between the incompetence and the bias and so on. We'll get into that later this hour because they've really shown themselves in this election cycle. I-80 John in Granite Canyon. Don sounded giddy on his podcast this morning. Yes, he did. Don Day. When nothing is happening in the weather, Don Day gets bored. And it shows. He's frustrated. When there's a lot of really squirrely, weird weather going on, he gets kind of giddy. He denies it, but he does. Chris in Cheyenne, what do you know about Judge Fern? Nothing. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about that. Let me see. Freeman, 76 in Cheyenne, he said, morning, Glenn. The Wyoming Constitution Party set out a writing campaign mailer for Joel Skousen, as I'm pronouncing it right. It's disappointing to see third party operates like a bad joke. Yes. And I was talking about earlier, I wrote up an article this morning. Wyoming has 4 political parties in the state, and 2 of them you never hear from. And I can't take them seriously, even though I would like to. When you read the platform, for example, of the Constitution Party, many of you Republicans would really like it. But they can't be taken seriously. They're just that bad as far as how to put together a campaign, how to get the general public's attention. It's like they're not even trying at this point. So, yeah, there's more political parties than you tend to think about or hear about. But what are you supposed to do when it comes election time? And you didn't know they were even running a candidate until you saw them on the ballot that day. You never heard of them. And to run a writing campaign, if you're trying to run a writing campaign, my thought is don't even bother. Don't even. Just wait the next election cycle. don't even bother if you're trying to put a write-in campaign, because you're never going to get enough write-in votes to get anything done. And also, most people don't even know that you're out there. The best write-in campaign I ever saw in Wyoming, when I first got to Wyoming, there was one candidate for governor that was trying to, and he didn't get enough votes to make a difference, but he certainly made a name for himself anyway with the write-in campaign, but he was never going to win that one anyway. Oh, by the way, long as I'm on about this, this is the last day that you have to put up with political advertising. I know a lot of you thought it was going to be over today. Today is the last day for political ads. It ends tomorrow. Then all the Christmas ads hit you.
Hi, I'm Gil Fulbright. The people who run my campaign, they've made this commercial, and I'm in it. This campaign, it's not about me. It's about crafting a version of me that'll appeal to you. A version that visits random work sites with paid actors pointing at things. A version of me that doesn't find old people loathsome or pointless. Has a conventionally attractive yet curiously still family. Listening to my constituents, legislating, these are things I don't do. What I do is spend about 70% of my time raising funds for re-election. I'd do anything to stay in office. My name's Gil Fulbright, but hell, I'll change my name to Phil Goldbright or Bill Fulbright or fill up my mouth with farts. These are the things that are important to me. And these are the fine people that finance my campaign. Now, in order to do these things, I have to stay in office. And to stay in office, I have to keep these guys happy. Now, if any of these things make these guys unhappy, well, my hands are tied. So come November, the choice is clear. Do you want another spineless mouthpiece for special interest in lobbyists? Or a spineless mouthpiece for special interest in lobbyists? I'm Philip a Mouth with Farts, and I approve this message.
Morning, Lori. Lori's in Laramie. She writes me this note. In case you haven't heard, she says, many of Laramie's polling places are having IT issues. I didn't know that. Okay. So is this delaying things? Hang on. She's updating me with another one. So long lines and waiting. In some cases, people who have to go to work have been leaving. I hope they come back. Regarding voting for judges, there is a resource at wyomingbar.org. Look for the average score, some polling questions, and so on. That's one of the toughest ones, Lori, I think, is when it comes to voting for judges, because judges don't tend to be really out there as a candidate. And how do you know what's really going on in the courtroom with them, things like that. So, yeah, I think one of the toughest ones, a lot of judges on the ballot this year, a lot, where I was voting there was. And you got to know all sorts of things about it. They don't really campaign much either. So that's a good resource. Thanks for that.
In the last 11 years, 115 people died of weightlifting accidents in a gym. In that same 11 years, only one person died of eating a donut. Make good choices, people.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So yesterday I was telling you, a lot of people were telling you the story about the squirrel in New York. Peanut the squirrel. If you haven't heard, first off, send me a picture of just send me your address. How about that? Because I want to look up on Google Earth to see what rock you live under, if you haven't heard this story. But Peanut the squirrel was a squirrel that was rescued. Mom had died, the little baby squirrel. Guy picks up the baby squirrel, brings it into the house, ends up becoming a pet. And a very famous pet, because this squirrel is great. There were videos of it on YouTube, TikTok, and I saw it on Instagram, as this guy would come home and the squirrel would race up the wall and jump onto his shoulder. And it was just such a playful, fun, cuddly little squirrel. And lived with the family for 7 years. And because the squirrel had gotten so popular, the family started a squirrel rescue operation. Well, I'm sorry, not just squirrel, animal, rescue operation. Somebody had to complain after 7 years of doing this. And so the New York police show up, raid the place without a warrant, end up killing the squirrel because they needed to check it for rabies, so they got to kill it. Whole thing is absolutely outrageous and getting a lot of attention on the internet, as it should. people are just mad as hell. Meantime, you would think that the police in New York would have a lot better to do than this. And they spent a long time harassing the family as well before they finally left. So, according to the Babylon Bee, New York authorities announced that Peanut the squirrel died of COVID. Following public outcry about the state's Department of Environmental Conservation raiding a local man's home and euthanizing his pet squirrel who had hundreds of thousands of social media followers, New York authorities announced Peanut the squirrel had died of COVID-19. Officials revealed Peanut cause of death in an effort to claim that the backlash resulted from what many people have labeled a blatant example of government overreach. Of course, that's a parody website I'm reading from. Quote, "We're saddened to announce that COVID-19 has claimed another victim." Okay, now, meantime, there's this story. This is from, now, so you don't, in case you don't know, Babylon Bee is a satirical website, right? They were smart enough to put a page out called Not the Bee. And Not the Bee is stories from the Babylon Bee that you would think are parody, satire, but they're not. They're actually true. But when you read this headline, okay, so here's someone who puts up on social media, well, you know, it's illegal to have a squirrel as a pet in New York. It has nothing to do with politics. All right? And so the answers he got. Illegality and legality literally is politics. Another person writes, "I will remember what you New Yorkers are like when I lead my state to annex your lands." Well, it's legal, so I guess it's okay to do, right? You're saying we should just euthanize illegals? Okay. You said it, bro, not me. No, some of these are really good. It was illegal to be a Jew in the 1940s in Germany. That had nothing to do with politics, right? Another guy writes, "Just a casual reminder that people in New York City were turning in their neighbors for holding Jewish worship services in secret in 2020. Government overreach in a city where rapes are up 300% in the past 5 years. So you would think that they would be handling real crime, but no. So you see, what one comment, and this guy's just being slaughtered. Well, you know, it's illegal to own a squirrel in New York. Next person says, how many crimes went unpoliced in New York while dozens of agents were serving that warrant? And the answer to that is also they didn't have a warrant. They just went into the house. That's also illegal. But yeah, all of these cops are showing up, no warrant, and yet there's how many actual crimes going on out there? This person writes, my son was literally killed in Queens by a shopkeeper in May for stealing one beer. The guy won't be prosecuted, won't be released. Yet the squirrel, wow, gets all these resources for that. Again, all those cops showing up because of a squirrel. Let's see, another one writes, it's illegal to kill someone in New York, but my son was murdered in Queens. Okay, that goes back to the story I just read to you. Okay, a lot of other things are also illegal in New York that are far more harmful and that get unenforced. That, I think, is the main point of it. So when this person says, well, you know, it's illegal to hold a squirrel, you know, as a pet in New York City. So you send a whole team of cops, armed, guns drawn, no warrant? Really? I bet you there's much better things they can be doing. Let's see. Not all laws are just, dear. I like that one. Just because it's illegal. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are illegal that should be legal. And when the guy says, but so it's not politics. No, many laws are written for politics. Here's another person with, it's illegal to be an illegal in New York, but that's not enforced. There's a lot of comments on illegal aliens. I like this one. 10 officers with warrants. Actually, they didn't have warrants. 5 hours of interrogation over a squirrel. Flipping everything in the house upside down over a squirrel. This is the level of government overreach that should not be allowed, but somehow you are defending it. Let's see, Washington, a New York Post. Mark and Daniel told the Post on Saturday they have been cashing in on their furry sensation, the squirrel, who helped steer followers to their page so they could start an animal rescue place, and that animal is the one that ends up getting euthanized. So they turned this into a great thing, so let's kill it. I see. Oh, they did get a judge to sign on the raid. I did see that. What I'm talking about, that's Mike from Video Streaming Lead, South Dakota. The original raid, though, on the house was not signed off by a judge, was my understanding. But then later, judge signed off on it. Sheepdog and Casper, they got to have something to do that they can't catch a convicted criminal. Or, here's what gets me, Sheepdog, is as a lot of these people are saying that I'm reading from here, as a lot of them are saying, I was thinking about yesterday, too. They had 10 officers show up. Now, how much is going on in New York that we can spread those officers out to help keep the city safe from actual things going on, to catch real criminals, real murderers, rapists, thieves, thugs, right? That's what they should be doing. But instead, we're going to have a raid on a squirrel. Oh, here's Jorgen from The Hague. Haven't heard from you in a while. Oh, yeah. Here's a AI image of Donald Trump with a squirrel on his shoulder. That would be Peanut, and Peanut has angel wings. All right. I got other stuff to go through with you, which we'll get into in the next segment of the program. Local news is coming your way. After local news, update on the weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. I'm really not going to get much into election punditry until tomorrow, when we can see what the results are and hash through it all. Right now, people are just starting to vote, so we have no idea what's going on. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
He's not a politician, but his pants are on fire. Could someone grab an extinguisher? Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Tatsus in Wheatland just sent me, I've seen this one floating around out there on the internet. It's really good. It's the Don't Tread on Me flag, the Gadsden flag. But instead of a snake, it has a squirrel for the one in New York that was murdered for no damn good reason. All right, so story I want to get off to for just because you've heard me complaining about this for a while, but I do think it'll turn out to be a good thing. When people in America are asked, how much faith do they have in the news media? It's at an all-time low. And over the years, I've watched it. Not only have I seen more and recognize more, but at the same time, I've watched them just get worse. And so news media has become, first off, in a lot of ways, I've explained to you how they don't even try. Like one of my favorite stories from some years ago, back when a news release went out, some company in Massachusetts, you've heard me tell this story before, wanted to make a flying car. And basically the wings fold up accordion style alongside of the vehicle. They get to an airport and the wings automatically stretch out, and then they can take off because there's a propeller on the back. And their press release was world's first flying car. And every news organization across America reported, doesn't matter the size of the news organization, from little local up to national, world's first flying car. You've been able to buy flying cars since the early 1900s. They've existed that long. There's always somebody. Whether the wings fold up on the car or they're pulled on a trailer behind, whatever the case is. Vehicles that you can land at an airport, remove or fold up the wings and drive off. Everybody's always making one. You can buy one right now. There's always some company out there trying a different version of it. So this was not. But not one single news organization bothered to just Google earliest flying car to see if that was true. They just went with the press release. Another one I like to pick on is when that kid, 9 years old, did a book report for his class where he said America uses 500 million straws a day and most of them wind up in the ocean. And news media all over the country ran with it, not fact-checking a 9-year-old, only to find out that, in fact, America, we do use a lot of straws, but we don't use anywhere near 500 million a day, and most of them get nowhere near the ocean. But that's the incompetence of the news media for you. They often have no idea how to do their job, many of them. Now, I have met over the years some good reporters out there, but there's not many of them. Then the bias. Oh, dear Lord, the bias. And this is what I really also wanted the general public to see. Not just the incompetency, but the bias. So, the story I have in front of me, the headline for the story starts with, no matter the final vote, this election's biggest loser might be the legacy media. In the slurry of days, summer of 2020, Donald Trump contemplated a second term. His aides engaged in a quiet conversation with members of the digital media about this audacious idea. The goal was to bypass the traditional news media who monopolized the White House Correspondents Association press room with the White House the White House will set the conversation. You know, the whole false Russian collusion thing, all of that garbage. In its place, aides wanted to stand up a new press in the old executive building where new media, this would be a lot of online new media, your Joe Rogan types, could get around the legacy press. If there was a sticking point that summer of discontent, it was how the public might react to such a notion. The story says for years, incidents to assassination attempts, January 6th impeachment, heavy dose of bogus and biased coverage, the American voting public seemed to be clamoring for some kind of change, especially with a steady flow of revelations of stories having been suppressed, like concerns about Joe Biden's mental health, for example, or Hunter Biden's laptop. There was a time, this is a quote, there was a time in my lifetime, your lifetime, when reporters were proud to break stories like this. That's Representative Glenn Grothman, Republican, Wisconsin. He said, this is not what's going on now. Now, the goal of a reporter seems to be to hide stories. And this is one of the reasons why you hear me go on about the cult of climate change so much. And because of the cult of climate change, any alternate point of view is suppressed, or they tell you it's a lie or it's ridiculous, rather than covering what's actually going on. The congressman whose state has been intensively fraught with, it's a battleground state for this election, says he's sensed from the campaign trail that everyday Americans feel the way he does. He said, in the last week, I've been at 2 Donald Trump rallies. The line that gets the most applause is when Trump calls out fake news. Quote, if that wasn't true when I was a child, the mainstream media ought to care what people think, but they just don't seem to care. In fact, there were many news stories right up to the last moment, before today when people are going to vote. They're probably doing it today, too. Stories right up to the last moment that the media has been lying about. One of the big last ones was when Donald Trump, the media accused Donald Trump of saying he wanted to shoot Liz Cheney in the face or have other people shoot Liz Cheney in the face, which is not what he said at all. To suggest that what he said when you hear the actual audio is a flat-out lie, but that's your news media for you. Story says the 2024 election provided a chance for traditional media reporters to reverse the slump. Instead, they doubled down on coverage so anti-Trump, 85%, according to Media Research Center, slant away from Trump. Anchors fact-check candidates with inaccurate information. In other words, fake fact-checking. That's another one that really gets me. We fact-checked it. No, you didn't. You don't even know what fact-checking is. Documents unearthed by Congress in the last 2 years also show the media censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story in late 2020 was based on false information and influence campaigns tied directly to Joe Biden's campaign advisors. rounding up sock puppet intelligence specialists. So again, we fact-checked it. We have experts on it. No, you don't. You hired a bunch of people to say what you wanted to say. In other words, in October 2020, the surprise was to expose, bogus electorate, the surprise for the next 4 years of the election cycle. One of the most powerful examples occurred in the final days of the election, says the story, when news media falsely reported that Donald Trump, here we go, called for Liz Cheney assassination, when in fact he was criticizing the former Republican for supporting wars without ever having served in the military. The misrepresenting was even condemned. Why reliable liberals like a TV... Bill Maher, of all people, Bill Maher even said, just don't lie to me, he said. I don't like Donald Trump, but don't lie to me and tell me that he wants her in front of a firing squad. He was saying something, by the way, if it came out of the mouth of some, if not the stupid part of his mouth again, some things that hippies like to hear, that he doesn't like war. Let's see. New York Times can say whatever it wants and whatever readers... I used to love reading the New York Times, but then I started to get an idea of what they were really like. And the New York Times is another one. Washington Post has completely lost credibility at this point. And then forget MSNBC is not even a news organization at all. They're not even a news organization. And CNN, I gave up on them a long time ago. I would like CNN to... They were the original 24-hour news cycle. I would love to see a revitalization of CNN to be a news organization again, but they're not. If anything, in this election cycle, the news media exposed to the American people who they really are. Lying, suppressing, twisting facts. And I hope... Even the American public's faith in news media is at an all-time low. I hope, honestly, this causes the utter crash of some legacy news media outlets. We could certainly use it. 846, Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming Woods, on air, online, and on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is K2 Radio.
8:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go at the Icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, Frank, I am mildly dyslexic, right?
Mildly, yeah.
Yeah, mildly.
So you seem to survive.
I do, yeah. One of my favorite jokes is Lysdexics of America untie. If you understand. So I just came across, this was a really good one, guy reading the newspaper, and it says, let me back up to the beginning of it here. Dyslexia for cure found. I see. Get it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Let me see. I like this one here. I have sex daily. I mean dyslexia. Sorry. There's some really good ones out here, and I like these jokes because, I mean, you should be able to make fun of yourself.
You're sadistic is what it is.
Yes. Let me see. I have... there's another Lysdexia one. Okay. I have dyslexia, but I can still spell yuck foo.
Okay.
Yeah, think
All righty then. I can spell it too, but not that way.
That's exactly right, yeah. That's the advantage, I think, about having dyslexia, is you can go ahead and cuss somebody out.
It's like pig Latin.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So, okay, hold on. I think you just solved it, Frank. I don't have dyslexia. I have pig Latin. Aha.
Yeah. There you go. All right. And men's college hoops, the Wyoming Cowboys with their first win of the year, drilling Concordia of St. Paul and Laramie last night in Laramie, 108-85. Cowboys had 6 players in double figures and rang up an arena auditorium record of 45 field goals. Obe Egbin with 25 points on the night. Scotty Ubibe with 19. Plus, the Cowboys had just 8 turnovers. They will host Tennessee State on Sunday in Laramie. The Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team lost to Colorado in bowl Boulder last night, 56-50 in their regular season opener. Neither team shot the ball very well. Cowgirls at 38%, but 3 of 15 from the three-point line. CU was 33% from the field, 1 of 10 from the land of three, and still won the game. Allison Fertig led Wyoming with 18 points on 7 of 11 from the field, and they will be at BYU in Provo on Saturday afternoon. State High School Volleyball Tournament will start on Thursday at the Ford Center in 4A. Laramie is the number 1 seed from the East and will take on the Trone at 6 p.m. in round 1. Kelly Walsh is the 1 seed from the West, and the Trojans will draw Cheyenne East at 1. And 2A, Pine Bluffs qualify for the tournament, and they'll take on Thermopolis in the first round at 4:30 on Thursday, and that tournament will run from Thursday to Saturday at the Ford Center in Casper. Junior college volleyball, Casper College finished the regular season 8-24 with losses to LCCC from Cheyenne and Eastern Wyoming from Torrington. The T-Birds did not qualify for the Region 9 tournament that will be held starting tomorrow in Cheyenne. LCCC did qualify as the 4th seed from the North with an overall record of 11-19. The Golden Eagles will play NJC from Sterling tomorrow at 4:30. College football, Wyoming Cowboy freshman quarterback Hayden Anderson named the Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Week, and rightfully so, after throwing for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Pokes beat New Mexico 49-45 in Albuquerque on Saturday. He was 20 of 29 throwing the football, a big improvement from a previous quarterback play for this team, that's for sure. UW has this week off, and they will be at Colorado State next week, and that's it in sports.
Okay, this one, I had to double check this one to make sure. Lightning strike kills soccer player, injures 5 others during a match in Peru.
Okay.
All right. Now the problem, and I'm not trying to be mean here, Frank, but I'm watching this. You know when you see during a soccer game somebody takes a fake hit?
Yeah, they flop.
And they flop all over the place. Okay, here's like 6 players all suddenly flopping to the ground. And at first I'm thinking, oh, they're just screwing around here like soccer players all do. No, I can actually see the lightning strike in the video, and all the players hit the ground at about the same time.
Oh, that's brutal.
That is, yeah. I think
holy cow!
I'm going to send this to you.
Yeah, let me.
Really But you can see my mistake in thinking, no, they were just
they
faking
weren't
it,
flopping.
right?
No,
they were not faking.
Lightning is stronger than them.
Oh my God! Then all of us. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. Yeah, it's quite a video, but I really thought, no, they're faking. No, they were actually struck by lightning, and they all fell to the ground and flopped around at the same time. All right, coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. Local, national update on your weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. It's Wake Up Wyoming. 9:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Tuesday. It's Election Day, which, by the way, I'm not doing any kind of coverage until we finally get through all of this nonsense. I'm not one of those play-by-play guys. Nothing has happened yet. People are just voting.
Today's show is sponsored by Squid-Flavored Donuts.
Yum.
Bringing the flavor of the ocean to your breakfast pastry.
And as I've been reminding people all morning long, since that is our sponsor, if you go to Cheyenne, Wyoming, Lincoln Way, right next to the McDonald's, there is a sushi donut shop. They don't put sushi in the donut, but they sell sushi and donuts in the same place. You walk in the door, they'll ask you, which would you like? I wanted them to put the sushi in the donut hole, but they just laughed at me. I don't get it.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Okay, some random stories for you. A Seattle high school teacher has apologized. And as well, that teacher should, and more should happen than just the apology. The teacher teaching a French class had a quiz that forced students to say Trump is a liar or crazy. Yeah. A high school teacher in Seattle reportedly apologized after the French teacher was giving students an assignment in which the only acceptable ways to describe Donald Trump was crazy or liar. Teacher apologized because of my reports as a reporter out there. At Roosevelt, we are committed to fostering safe and supportive and inclusive environments for all students. It has come to my attention that an online game the class played earlier this week, which was meant to be fun with the French vocabulary. Again, you had to call Trump crazy or a liar. And the students who asked to be anonymous for fear of retribution said the teacher held a short unit on how to use French slang words in a sentence earlier this week, and that's where that came up. Okay. Story goes on for a while, but you get the idea there. All right. Next one. Let's see. FEMA has failed to answer nearly half of all the emergency phone calls Americans made for emergency aid after reaching hurricanes. Now, I will say, to give them, some benefit of the doubt here, and a lot of people were affected. A lot. But let's read the story here. The story says, here we go. Hundreds of thousands of people who are trying to recover from disasters nationwide have been unable to get through to federal call centers or have stayed on hold for excessive periods of time in the weeks since Helene, the hurricane, barreled into southern Appalachia last month. Overwhelmed by Helene and then Hurricane Milton, the centers have failed to answer nearly half of the incoming phone calls over the course of the week recently. For the calls that were answered, it took more than an hour for federal workers to pick up on average. Now, again, I'll give them some benefit of the doubt here because this was an overwhelming situation and how they're supposed to handle all of that. But in general, FEMA has been dropping the ball on pretty much everything, which is why I first really noticed this back during Hurricane Katrina, when I sat up and thought, when it comes to natural disasters, you really should just go ahead and take care of yourself and not count on the government to show up and help you out. I think it's great that government comes in to take care of things like we're going to clear the roads. Well, let me back up. Here's what government did right, including Hurricane Katrina, but did right in many cases. Rescue people. There's police, fire, National Guard, etc. They do a great job of going in and rescuing people. In some cases, I'd even say they excel at that. But then when it comes to the cleanup, they're okay. They do a okay job at, making sure the streets are clean and so on, but there's a lot of work there to be done. But most of what has to be done is best taken care of by the private sector. I will give a lot of credit to Governor DeSantis of Florida for staging everything in advance of the hurricanes. We know the hurricane's coming. We're going to stage all of the resources we need in advance to do the fastest possible job we can. But most people who are counting on government help during a natural disaster find themselves, just hanging there waiting for help to arrive. So my advice is do the best you can to personally be prepared. Know what kind of disasters are prone for your area and just be ready for them. There you go. That doesn't mean you're a prepper. That just means you're prepared. Here's from the Babylon Bee, not the Bee website. It sure looks like the Asheville town running out of food, but the government says everything is just fine. FEMA data shows that while the agency has almost no capacity to deal with another major disaster, especially since they spend so much money on illegal aliens, by the way. 2 weeks after the Small Business Administration ran out of money to provide low-interest disaster loans for small businesses and households, FEMA can't do anything. In almost as if government is run horrifically incompetent by a bunch of bureaucrats who have no idea how to get anything done. I mean, you think? The FEMA daily operations story said briefing shows that it was responding to 110 major disasters on Tuesday and had just 530 workers available for these assignments. Every one of these FEMA 55 federal coordination officers directly oversees disaster was either assigned or unavailable. On FEMA's busiest day, Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria, the agency had 1,752 workers available, which is not enough to take care of everything. So this is back where, again, I say, when you're looking for a disaster, for government to come in and help you, they're just not prepared to do it. Even if they were organized, they're going to get overwhelmed when something big happens, and something big is going to happen now and then. We go through years where nothing happens and we're okay. Then one day something really big happens and they're going to get overwhelmed. Which is why I say the best way to handle things is not to sit there waiting for government to show up. Remember, again, Hurricane Katrina. They told a lot of people, and they knew that hurricane was coming way in advance. They told a lot of people, just get downtown, go to the arena. Remember what happened at the arena? People literally died waiting. Literally died waiting. But those people who had prepared themselves, the smart ones got out of the way, left the area. Those people who stayed that were well prepared did just fine because they weren't waiting on government to show up.
Ain't no way you'll ever find me behind the wheel of an electric car. I want that 10 miles per gallon, oil leaking, no muffler having, screaming V8 driving down the highway.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, you know we're living in the end times.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. While we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
On that note, this is always a problem. We've had problems with lithium-ion batteries. A lithium-ion battery recycling plant explodes in Missouri. Okay. I shouldn't laugh at that. I'm laughing at that. I shouldn't laugh at that. All right. Americans, the story says, are beginning to awake to the relentless realities of the new green energy utopia. Let's put that in quotes. New green energy utopia. It's not green. It's not a utopia. Which apparently entails a lot more chemistry and fire response than originally promised. By the way, I did see there was a video, a real video. There was an electric car on fire. And they pushed it into a pond, and it was still burning. It's underwater, and it's still burning. You had to see it. It was just really amazing to watch there. But all right. Another dramatic example of the hazards associated with lithium-ion batteries occurred in one exploded battery processing plant near Fredericktown, Missouri. The incident prompted local evacuations. Now, to be fair to the battery people, we do have our accidents and explosions with things like petroleum products. That does happen. And if, let's say, an oil tanker, let's say there's a truck driving oil and it tips over and blows up, well, you're going to evacuate the area. So it does happen. To be fair about it, residents of the southeast Missouri town were forced to evacuate their homes Wednesday when a fire erupted in a nearby battery recycling center. This is the stuff they tell you is going to save the planet. Madison County 911 posted on Facebook around 2 p.m. on behalf of the county sheriff's office, telling residents north and west of the town to leave the area. If you can see or smell smoke in the area, you need to evacuate the post. In a separate post later in the afternoon, Madison County 911 and the Fredericktown Fire Department said only residents of Madison County Road 277 needed to evacuate. The county urged other residents to shelter in place. I tell you right now, if somebody tells me to shelter in place, I'm leaving. The Post said the city of Fredericktown was not affected by the order. This is why I'm saying I'm not sheltering in place, I'm leaving. Close windows and doors and turn off the air conditioning system. Okay. See, that tells me that I'm gonna end up inhaling this stuff anyway, so I might as well just leave. Fortunately, no casualties. The critical mineral recovery, a massive lithium-ion battery recycling facility is gone. On the website for the company, it says the 225,000 square foot plant, that's huge, used to recycle lithium-ion batteries, related materials from battery manufacturers, automotive, battery dealers, recyclers, processing worldwide. That includes wind and solar farms, stuff like that. Story says, I suspect the cause of the explosion was the thermal runaway, which was a major concern with lithium-ion batteries. It occurs when a battery cell overheats, causing a chain reaction that spreads to the other cells. The reaction also yields oxygen gas, which adds to the intense fire. The battery temperature rises slowly at first and then all at once suddenly. Another factor that makes the lithium-ion battery fires challenging to handle is oxygen generation. When the metal oxides in a battery, as a positive and, of course, negative, they get heated, they decompose and release oxygen gas. Fires need oxygen to burn, so the battery can create its own oxygen to sustain the fire. Which is why I said when I was looking at a video of a car, electric car that was on fire and was pushed into a lake and it kept burning, it's because it's creating its own oxygen. Oh, by the way, I didn't know this. So just so you know, my car is in the shop, right? And this relates to this story. My car is an older Saturn Vue. It looks like sort of an SUV thing. It's a stick shift, black SUV-looking vehicle. It's older, but I keep driving it because it just keeps going. So I'm just going to keep driving it. However, Saturday I'm driving along, and I'm going through an intersection. I need to step on the accelerator, and suddenly nothing. I don't have an accelerator. It's just the engine's running, but there's nothing there under the pedal. So I pull over to the side where there's other cars parked along the roadside there in front of homes. And I make sure to give enough room so when the tow truck arrives, he can just pull up to my vehicle. So I turn off the vehicle, I turn it back on, knowing it's not going to fix anything, and it doesn't. The vehicle is running when I restart it, but I have no pedal. So, okay, that's got to get fixed. As the car, of course, is loaded up on top. These days, most tow trucks, they put the vehicle on a bed, a flatbed, and drive you down there, right? It's fine. It's much better for the vehicle to do this. As we're driving, I'm talking to the gentleman who's the tow truck operator, and he says to me, he charges extra on those few occasions when he's had to go get an electric car. There's not many electric cars around, but the ones that are around, he's had to go pick them up and bring them in because something broke down. And the reason he charges extra for electric cars is because they don't have any hard points, as tow truck operators call it. Hard points are things for him to hook onto. If he's going to pull the car up onto the bed, the bed tilts down, and then he hooks up some chains or a cable, and it pulls the car up onto the bed. Then the flatbed flattens out, and then he straps it down. There's nothing to hook onto. So he has to do this a different way. And then once he gets the car up on the bed, that was hard enough, there's nothing to hook onto to strap it down so he can take it to wherever the car needs to be delivered to. So he's got to do it a different way, basically by strapping down, putting a netting thing over the tires and so on. It's a whole hassle. He said electric cars don't have any hard points. What is he supposed to hook up to when they break down? So people like him have been complaining to Tesla and other electric car manufacturers. Can you guys put some hard points in there so when these vehicles break down, we can hook on to something? Tesla has responded, yes, we will do that. But that really surprises me. They didn't think about that in advance, that someday the car might break down and might have to be towed somewhere. And if they're going to do that, the tow truck driver is going to need something to hook onto. There's nothing under there. They didn't think about that, really? All right, coming up on some local news that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into weather forecast after that, then you and I get back into it. Get notes from Chet and Milo. I'll answer you guys in just a moment. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Friday. Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
9:36, Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so this is confirmed. We didn't need confirmation of this, but this has been confirmed. You are going to love this story. Trust me. Hang on a minute, whatever you're doing. That dude who beat up women in the Olympics in boxing is a dude. I know, right? Story says a shocking new development has emerged in the case of the Algerian boxer after a French journalist reported gained access to damning medical reports. He has testicles. The news comes after he got the gold medal in women's boxing in the Olympics. I'm really... It still floors me they gave him a medal in anything or let him participate, but all right. And the report was drafted. I wonder now, because of this, are they going to take away the medal? But all right, let's read it. The report was drafted June 2023 by a collaboration effort between, it talks about a hospital in Paris and a hospital in Algiers. Drafted by experts, they say. The report reveals that this boxer is impacted by a disorder for sexual development found in biological males, but he is a biological male. Let's see, how to put this. Everything that he has is really tiny. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to put this as delicately as I can, but you get the idea, right? Okay. He has everything a guy has, but it's all really small. So maybe that's why he thinks I'm not really a guy. Whatever the case is, he's still a guy and still has testosterone and so on. And still, when he went to go boxing, he was just beating the tar out of those women. Like a guy would. Yeah, which was just absolutely brutal. But once they started to take a look at the medical reports, they found out, no, this is a guy. This is a dude, male. And yet still the boxing committee for the Olympics just let him in. Now, as more information comes out at some point, and they should correct their ways, that includes take away the medal and not allow this to happen anymore. But there's more and more public outcry over this, and I'm glad to see it. Now, we have the story. What I want to know, and I think we already know the answer for this, your former legacy media. So do they cover this? Yeah, I know. You already know the answer to that. They're not going to touch this. No, they won't touch it. They won't dare. Much like, as I talk about oftentimes, the cult of climate change stuff. They won't touch that. The more evidence that shows that this is, again, hype and nonsense with the cult of climate change, the more actual events in weather and climate that prove them wrong, predictions made that never happened and so on. Does your news media go after it? Well, of course not. Would they go after this story? No, they're not. So this is where, once again, we got to find other ways to go ahead and get the story out. There are news organizations, a few out there that will report this. Most won't. So it becomes up to us to share these stories and get around the irrelevant, obsolete news media. And if you can tell, these are people that I don't think I really need to in the state of Wyoming, or for those who listen in surrounding states. I think you guys already understand and agree. But this is something I really want to work on over the next few years, is just making sure, and I don't have to do anything to discredit these news media outlets. They do it themselves. But just to get the word out to the general public, do you understand who you're listening to? That they don't just lie, but they repress information. They just don't tell you certain things, like the story right there. All right, this one. I might have to ask Frank Gambino about this next. A survey. And this survey is in the UK, not in America, but still. 1 in 5 adults can't change a light bulb or boil an egg. London, are you handy enough for that light bulb if it went out in your home to change it? Believe it or not, 1 in 5 people aren't so skilled. A new survey asked people in the United Kingdom, and if they knew what to do, about 20% of people said they didn't know how to change a light bulb. The same number are unsure about how to boil an egg. Well, now you might think, well, you just take the egg, you put it in boiling water, don't you? Well, when's it done? And my thought is, okay, look, I can give you the benefit of the doubt if you've never had to do that before. But you can look things up these days. It's really easy. British Insurance Company recently released their annual home report, which detailed, among numerous other findings about how people do work around the house, relatively common tasks that people encounter. The company surveyed about 2,004 people across the UK talking about habits at home. In addition, just 1 in 5 being able to change a light bulb or boil an egg. The survey found that nearly 1/3 of participants couldn't cook a meal on the fly. And by the way, putting something in the microwave for a couple of minutes is not cooking. And if someone were to spill a portion of their meal on their clothes, only about 59% know how to get rid of the stain. Only 37% said they could change a flat tire. That's something that also gets me because, I mean, do you drive a car? Then you should have to know how to change a tire. And I don't care who you are, even if you're a delicate young lady, and I mean that seriously, if you're a delicate young lady, you should know how to change your own tire. Some skills we should teach at a very early age. 9:42, Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Got something to say? Chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app or call 888-97-WOODS.
Time is 9:48. Off we go to the Icebox. Frank Gambino waiting by. Frank, did you get a chance to watch the video?
Yeah, you know what? And that's why in this civilized country that we have lightning detectors.
Yes.
That will stop games. Like when there's a lightning strike within 5 miles or whatever, 10 miles or whatever it is, they say, all right, we're taking a half-hour break. In Peru, obviously, they don't have that.
Yeah.
Because they just keep playing.
Right.
And then a lightning strike hits the field, kills that one guy,
Yeah.
and the referee is right next to him, and he lives.
Yeah. And all those players hit the deck at the same time,
Yeah,
just got knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty powerful. If you've known anybody who've been around a lightning strike,
Yeah.
it's just kind of...
Yeah. Okay.
You're just
now,
stunned and out.
Came across a little bit of a survey here. Over half of young people don't know how to boil an egg, which why would they have to?
Yeah, because you can,
Yeah, okay.
you can order it on Amazon.
But you can, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can yes, folks, you can order boiled eggs on Amazon.
Of course you can.
According to Frank, yeah. Let me see. Same number don't know how to change a tire, which I think even the most delicate of young ladies should have to change a tire. If you're driving.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to happen. All right. So we've been through stuff like this before, but here's a few others. They'll never know the experience of waiting for your favorite song to come on the radio so you can record it.
I remember those days. And I would never catch the beginning of
Yes.
it.
Let's see. Going to Blockbusters, of course. Going to your friend's house and knocking on the door to find out if they are there and having no idea.
Going to your friend's house.
Yes.
To knock on the door.
To find out if they are there and can come out and play.
Okay.
Because today you text in advance.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Rewinding the movie after you watch it.
No, I know.
Yeah,
That's not my problem.
No,
it's
it's
their
okay.
problem.
Having to get off the computer because mom needs to make a phone call.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me see.
The days of dial-up.
Yeah. Trying to fit the Walkman in your pocket. Yeah. Okay. Turning on the TV and having Channel 3 to play your video games.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Rushing to go to the bathroom and get snacks during commercial breaks. Today we pause it.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. And then actually, if you want to watch the commercials, just kind of rewind it.
Even if it's live television, you can just pause it.
Mm-hmm.
Walking a mile to and from school every day in junior high, and then after getting home, going off into the woods with friends to build stick forts and climb around in ravines.
Or drink beer.
Yes. But Frank never did that when he was that young. No.
Men's college hoops, the Wyoming Cowboys, a winner in their season opening game, beating Concordia of St. Paul in Laramie last night, 108-85. Cowboys had 6 players in double figures. They recorded an arena auditorium mark of 45 field goals. It's amazing. Obi Agban with 25 points, Scotty Ubibe with 19, plus the Cowboys had 8 turnovers in the game. That's pretty good. They will host Tennessee State on Sunday in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team losing in Boulder to the CU Buffs last night, 56-50 in their regular season opener. Neither team shot the ball all that well. Cowgirls at 38%, but 3 of 15 from the three-point line. CU was at 33% from the field, 1 of 10 from the land of 3 and still won. Allison Furtick led Wyoming with 18 points on 7 of 11 from the field. They'll be at BYU in Provo on Saturday afternoon. State High School volleyball tournament starts on Thursday at the Ford Center in Casper. And 4A, Laramie's number 1 seed from the East. They'll take on 4th-seeded Natrona at 6 p.m. in round 1. Kelly Walsh is the 1 seed from the West. And the Trojans will draw Cheyenne East at 1 p.m. on Thursday. And 2A, Pine Bluffs is in this tournament, and they will meet Thermopolis at 4:30. So that the state volleyball tournament at the Ford Center Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Junior college volleyball, Casper College finished their season 8-24 with losses to LCCC from Cheyenne and Eastern Wyoming. T-Birds did not qualify for the Region 9 tournament, which will start tomorrow in Cheyenne. LCCC did qualify as the 4th seed from the North with an overall record of 11-19. Golden Eagles will play NJC from Sterling, Colorado tomorrow at 4:30. And in college football, Wyoming Cowboy freshman quarterback Caden Anderson named the Mountain West Conference Freshman Player of the Week after throwing for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Pokes' 49-45 win over New Mexico on Saturday in Albuquerque. He was 20 of 29 throwing the football, obviously a big improvement from weeks past at that quarterback spot. UW not playing this week. They have a bye, and they'll be at Colorado State next week. And that's it in sports.
A few other things. Yes. Having to wake up on Saturday morning and having that 2 to 3 hour window to watch Saturday cartoons, and if you slept late, you missed them.
Yeah, some were worth it, but then again, at that age, you're up early anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But that was hard because sometimes there were 2 cartoons on different channels that you both wanted to watch at the same time.
Oh, my Lord, I hated that. Yeah, and there's nothing you can do to record them.
No.
Okay, not just walking to the television to change channels or turn it on and off, but being Dad's remote control yourself personally.
Which means pounding your foot on the floor like this.
Yes.
Pound, pound, pound. Then the reception will come back.
Oh, yeah. Or you've done this. So you put your hand on the television antenna, and you got great reception. But the moment you let go,
then it goes back.
You are the antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you supposed to do with that?
Yes. I'm tired. I'm go watch something else that you can see.
The misery that we had to go through as young people.
Yes, I know.
All right,
yes.
Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business. Hey, tomorrow on the program, we're going to get all sorts of election results, and so from local here in not just the state of Wyoming, but in regional and as well as national. I'll be pouring through a lot of that. I didn't cover that today because, people are just starting to vote, so there's really not a whole lot to talk about, despite what they're doing on cable news right about now. It's just absolutely not worth it. It's Wake Up Wyoming.